Alright guys, welcome to today's class. So what we're doing in today's class is JAMB Biology 2020, 2015 rather. So that's what we're doing. So let's start. So the first question we have here is which of the following has most primitive respiratory system? If you say something is primitive, what does it mean? These are part of the tricks that you have to learn. There are some things that biology question we ask you in Utme that they will ask you in biology that even if you know the theories very well, if you don't know in simple English, you'll not be able to solve it. So now what's the meaning of primitive? That's what you firstly have to know about it. So what's the meaning of primitive? So that's what you have to firstly know. So what's the meaning? So primitive is something that has to do with something that is original, that is something that is basic, right? Something that is rudimentary, something that is primary. So something like that is what is primitive, something that is simple, that is simplest. So what they are saying now is that the one with the simplest respiratory system, that's what they're asking us here. So they say which of the following has the most primitive respiratory system? So they said insects, fish, snail, mouse. So which one do you think will be the answer? Of course, you know that fish, they use what? They use gills. Snails, mouse, what do mouse use? Mouse use lungs, right? So what does snails use? Snails should be using lungs, if I'm right. They should be using something like that. So insects, I told you that insects use trachea, right? I think you guys are getting what I'm saying. So these are the ways you know that these are the ways you know the answer of the question you want to do. I think you guys get what I'm saying. So they said which of the following is primitive? That is the most basic. That is not complex, right? That's what they're asking you. So what do you think will be the answer? Is it the insects? Is it the fish? Is it the trachea? So what's the answer? I just want to you can just pause this video and try it. So what's the primitive? At times, you know, I told you one logic that some of the times when you don't know the whether a particular organism is using, maybe is using what did I want to say? Is using lungs or gills. I told you animals that lives inside water, most of the time they use what? They use gills, right? Though not all of them, like whale now. Whale is a mammal, so whale using lungs. Though it has a way it's actually navigating, despite the fact that it has what? It has what? Despite the fact that it is a mammal. That's why it's actually moving in water. So whale is actually using what? Is using lungs. That's why the fact that it's in water. So what's the answer here? So the answer is not even insects. Though you may firstly think it is insects, but actually the answer is option C, snail. Because snail, let me try to explain it. So because of the evolutionary trend of respiratory system from simple to complex, right? So diffusion through the skin or cell, gills, tracheal tubes, it goes to the lungs. So some group of snails that live in fresh water, they respire using gills, whereas other groups need to reach the surface to breathe air. So in addition, some are amphibious, that is, they use both gills and lungs. I'm talking about the snails. So snails, they have a very primitive respiratory system, which includes, they can use what? Snails can use body surface for respiration, right? They can still use, yes, they can use skin, right? They don't use, they can also use the mantle cavity, right? So I told you snails can, of course, snails can use lung, they can use gills, but rudimentary, normally, generally, gills don't, not all snails have lungs, right? So we don't, and not all snails use gills. So we cannot be giving snails that it is using gills and lungs, right? Although we have snails that use lungs and gills, or gills, right? Or use both of them, right? But normally they don't have lungs or trachea. So this type, so they can respirate using what body surface. So hence it means their respiratory system is not complex. So we just assume that they can use what body surface, although they can use lungs or gills, but yet we can see, and that one is called what cutaneous respiration. So one adaptation shown by hydrophytes in freshwater is the, so which adaptation is that is shown by the what, the hydrophytes. You know that hydrophytes, they have to what, they have presence of I told you we have three different types of plants. We have the hydrophytes, we have the mesophytes, and we have the xerophytes. I told you hydrophytes, they are the plant that grows on water. Mesophytes, they grows on both, a place that is not too dry and not too wet. Hydrophytes grows on water, right? So one adaptation shown by hydrophytes in freshwater habitat is what? Is it waxy cuticle on shoot surface? Leaves reduced to spine. So I told you when we are having leaf reduced to spine, that's to do with what? Desert plants. I think you remember when I was teaching you that when we are talking of maybe we are talking of maybe sucking stem, things like that. So those ones, they have to do with what? They have to do with adaptation of desert plants, right? So that one is not, so you cannot say that as the answer, right? So this one can never be the answer. They said well-developed roots and supporting system. So they said waxy cuticle on shoe surface. We are still coming to that aspect. So what do you think will be the answer? That is adaptation of shown by hydrophytes in freshwater habitat. So what do you think will be the answer? Is it waxy cuticle? Is it poor development of roots and stem and silent stems? Or what do you think will be the answer? So the answer is poor development of roots and silent tissues. And why is it like that? Because hydrophytes, I told you, they grow in water. So because of that, their roots should not be so developed because water is readily available. So hydrophytes, they don't need extensive root system to absorb. You know, the reason why I told you xerophytes, they have to build up a lot of roots is because they have to penetrate inside the soil to get little, you know, when a place is a desert, right? Plants, we have to find it difficult to look for the little water in the soil. Though we say in a desert place there will be little water in the soil, but yet the plant can still try to penetrate inside the soil so that it can absorb little water or moisture inside the soil. But for the hydrophytes, they are already in the water, so they don't need extensive roots, right? So that's why we said poor development of roots and xylem. So that's the answer. So that's why we choose poor development of roots and xylem. So which of the following use diffusion as primary method of gaseous exchange? Is it grasshopper? Is it rat spine? Is it lizard? Is it earthworm? So of course, when I was teaching you on all those classification of animals, plants and animals, I told you the earthworm, they use the body surface. Let me just, to be precise, they use moist body surface for what? For respiration. Lizard, of course, they work on land. That would be lungs. Rats, they use lungs. So these are insects, so they use trachea, right? So which of the following now uses diffusion as a primary method of gaseous exchange? Of course, the answer will be what? To be earthworm, because earthworm, the body of earthworm is not that complex, so it's still, you can see that they don't even have a respiratory organ. The only organ they are using as a respiratory organ is their body surface. So it means diffusion will be enough for gaseous exchange. The next one is the theory which support the view that the large muscle developed by an athlete to be passed on to the offspring was proposed by A. Mendel, B. Darwin, C. Lamarck, D. Pasteur. You know, I told you that Mendel works on genetics, right? He's the father of genetics. In fact, I told you that Darwin also worked on evolution, right? And he proposed a theory called a theory of natural selection or something like that, if I can still remember. So I explained that one, I think in the previous video I sent maybe yesterday. Lamarck has also said he worked on evolution, and his theory is actually law of use and disuse, right? So these things they normally ask you. So Pasteur, he work about food preservation. I think is the one that produced this method of food preservation, pasteurization, something like that. So now they now ask us that a theory which support that. So I thought I used an example when I was teaching you that aspect that Jane Lama gave us a theory that the reason why the I think I used zebra or that day or giraffe. Yes, I used giraffe. That he gave us an example that the reason why giraffe head is very long is because giraffe eats something on the top on a very tall place. So as giraffe is now stretching for his head, that's why the head of the giraffe is now what is now long. And scientists said that theory is what is invalid because he said that characteristics of giraffe can now be what can now be passed from the parent to the what to the offspring. So scientists said that theory is what is not accurate. So and that theory is also saying that if for example now Ronaldo now that has six pack, all those players that they have a strong muscles, or Anthony Joshua that they have a what a strong muscle. So his theory is now saying that his theory is now saying that his theory is now saying that no matter what, right? No matter what, right? No matter what, even if the boy they give back to, right? He's not doing any exercise. Automatically, once they give back to the boy, he's going to be what? He's going to have that same six pack, and that theory is not correct. So the person that gave us that theory is actually what? Jean Lamarck. So that's why we go for option C. So the chromosome members of the kingdom Monera, they are within the what? So I told you something that uh, inside the Monera, kingdom Monera, we have example of organism under kingdom Monera is bacteria. And there's something we talk about them that they don't have what? Nucleus, right? They don't have membrane bound organelles, things like that. So they don't have, they lack the nuclear membrane. So their nuclear material, they are suspended in the cytoplasm, right? That is, they don't, their nucleus is not bound. You know, the chromosomes in the kingdom, all those eukaryotic Monera, they are prokaryotic cell. That is cells that doesn't have membrane band. The nucleus is not present, right? They don't have true nucleus, right? So kingdom Monera, they are what prokaryotic cell. Why other cell like plant cell and animal cell, they are eukaryotic cell. That is, they have a true cell, true nucleus, right? So because of that, the chromosomes inside the bacteria or kingdom Monera, because they don't have nuclear membrane, the chromosome will be suspended inside the cytoplasm, right? So it doesn't have a specific, right? It doesn't have a specific location. So the chromosome will be suspended inside the cytoplasm. So that's why we go for that answer. So the question here says that the mangrove swamp in Nigeria is restricted to, is it Sahel savanna, is it Guinea savanna, is it tropical rainforest? So what is the answer? Option D is Sudan savanna. So what do you think would be the answer here? That is the mangrove swamp in Nigeria is restricted to where? So where is it restricted to? Is it the Sahel savanna? Is it the Guinea savanna? Is it the tropical savanna in tropical rainforest? So the answer is just what? The tropical rainforest. So that's the answer. The tropical rainforest. So because the mangrove swamps, I told you, I think I explained part of it, that mangrove swamps, they are coastal ecosystem found in the tropical and subtropical regions, including Nigeria. So they thrive in areas with what? High rainfall. So where there is high rainfall, you have mangrove swamp. So and also there will be high temperature and saline or brackish water. So in Nigeria, mangrove swamps are typically found along the coastal areas of the Niger Delta, which falls within the tropical rainforest region. So that's just why we go for that option. Number 7. The pancreas secretes enzymes for the digestion of. So there's something you need to know. Pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. Now, what does this pancreatic juice secrete? I think I taught you digestion. So what's the function of the pancreatic juice? So you just have to know the enzyme that the pancreas actually was produce. Because if you don't know the enzymes the pancreas produce, you just be wondering, what are we doing? So you have to know the enzymes that are produced by the pancreas. So the pancreas produce the following. It produces the lipase, right? It also produces that's the pancreatic lipase. So that it also produces an enzyme called amylase, right? So what else again? It also produces an enzyme called trypsin. Now this is what lipase is from the word lipid, right? So hence this enzyme lipase, it works on fats or lipid. You know that fat is just like lipid also, right? Fat and oil. So it works on that. So it means lipase is for what? Lipid. Now amylase is like starch. So amylase is an enzyme that works on what? Starch. Now trypsin, it works on proteins or peptones. So please, all this digestive system, revise it when reading. Every system is very important, including the reproductive system too. So the answer, so option A now. So I think that would be our answer, because it's actually, starch is carbohydrates. So it has talked about that one too. So starch is what? Carbohydrates. So automatically, what's our answer like that? So option A is our answer. So sorry. Okay. So the causative agents of bird flu. So what causes bird flu? So is it protozoa? Is it the virus or bacterium? So what's the causative agent of bird flu? So it's actually virus. It's a viral disease. So please, all those diseases in the previous video I told you to read on them. So read extensively on them. So it's a viral disease. Now, for fertilization, there are some conditions you need for fertilization in what? Water is actually, you have some type of plants, right, that we call the pteridophyta. And I explained this to you when I was teaching you all those classification of plant and animal. So this pteridophyta, example of organism we have is fence, right? So fence. So I don't see if you have seen a palm tree before. You're going to see some grass grow around that, the neck of that palm tree. So this fence, they need water for their fertilization. So that's why they said a water medium is necessary for fertilization in what? So it's actually the fence. So they are like epiphytes. So they grow, they are not like, they are plants that grow on another plant, right? So that's just what they are. Now an example of sex-linked traits is the A, color of the skin in humans, B, ability to roll the tongue, C, possession of facial hair in adults, humans, ability to grow or long hair in females. I told you that we have what we call the physiological variation, and we have what? Physiological or discontinuous variation. And we also have what? The morphological or continuous variation. Right? So this type of variation is, I told you, morphological variation is things we can see, like height. So we also I think I told you that physiological variation is just like they are sex linked. Some of them are sex linked, if I can still remember, right? So now, they now said an example of a sex linked trait is the A, color of the skin in humans. You know that one it has to do with morphological. It's a morphological variation, because it's something you can see, right? Another one is ability to roll the tongue. Whenever you see a person, you cannot tell if this person can roll a tongue until the person roll that tongue to you and you see it. I still use another particular example that um, that there are, although this question is really not talking about morphological variation, sex-linked traits is different from morphological and uh, physiological variation. So sex-linked, it has to do with things that has to do with X chromosomes, right? So sex-linked traits, they are actually influenced by genes located on X and Y chromosomes, right? So facial hair in humans is a sex-linked trait. That is facial hair in adult humans. As you are growing up, you see some people growing facial hair on their eyes, on their faces. So that's why. So males with XY chromosomes, now you know that especially male, adult male, you see hair going in there. They will start growing beard, something like that. All those moustache or whatever. So mistake or whatever they call it. So females, they will need to inherit two copies of the dominant allele to express facial hair growth. So the answer is actually possession of facial hair in adult humans. So in which of the following states can mountain vegetation be found? What's the meaning of the mountain vegetation? So in which of the following states? In which of the following states right can mountain vegetation be found? Is it Bauchi? Is it Plateau? Is it Taraba? Is it Enugu? So in which of the following can mountain vegetation be found? So please, this is not what they want to write, it's mountain. So which one do you think will be the answer? The answer is Taraba. Taraba is the one with what? Mountains, because mountains can be found in areas like Niger, Borno, Adamawa. So all those places we have mountains, real mountains, not sprayer mountain. We're talking of real mountains. Although Plateau too, we can still see mountains, but we are going for Taraba here. Okay, so let's go. Which of the following is true of cloning? This is actually a topic in genetics. So what do we do in cloning? Cloning is like you are forming new traits, right? You are trying to create something new, right? There are some fruits now, like mango now, all those watermelon. That when you open them, we have something we now call GMO. Scientists, they are really working. There are some fruits now. I don't say it's good, but that they are GMO, that they are not real fruits, that they are produced in the lab, right? They don't have seeds. So whenever you are seeing seedless fruits, so it is the work of the genetics engineering that do all those work. So though they are not really so good for your health, so but they are trying to do something that is not. So which of the following is true of cloning? A. It is welcomed as an ethically and normally sound science. B. It involves the asexual multiplication of the tissues of the original organism. C. The clone is similar to but not exactly like the original organism. D. Only one cell of the original organism is needed to imitate the process. So what do you think is the answer? So what do you think? So which of the following is true of cloning? Is it, cloning is like forming a copy, right? For example, photocopy. Go and help me photocopy something, right? So cloning means you are like photocopying something. I think you guys get what I'm saying. So cloning is like photocopying. So it's the process of creating a what? Is a process of creating uh, a genetic copy of a cell or organism. So the copy is called a clone, right? The copy you get is now called what? Clone, right? So cloning involves asexual replication of the genetic makeup of an organism. So this process can occur naturally or artificially. So it is asexual because all the genes in the new organism are from the same source, rather than being a mixture of the genes from two individuals. So what they are saying here is actually that it is what it is asexual because it involves only you are taking something from one organism, right? You are not mixing it with any other organism. So it's asexual. So that's why we go for that option. So the process of shielding the exoskeleton of an arthropod is known as, I told you arthropod is actually all those, we have the arachnida, we have the myriapoda, we have the insecta. So, and I told you when I was teaching you on skeleton that the processing with the insects they use in shedding their skeleton is called what? Exostasis. So that's the answer. Now, which of the following is a major cause of constipation? So what causes constipation? A, lack of roughage. B, vitamin B. C, vitamin C. Vitamin E. D, lack of salts. So what do you think will be the answer? So lack of roughage is actually due to, okay, let me explain. When you have deficiency of vitamin B, it leads to beriberi. When you have deficiency of vitamin E, what does it lead to? It leads to sterility. I think the person will not be able to fertilize. That's why you see some people barren. So we also have vitamin K. Vitamin K. So that one it has to do with hemorrhage. That is, blood will unable to clot. Blood unable to clot. So the person will just be losing blood. The blood will not stop. What of vitamin A? So vitamin A, the deficiency of vitamin A is night blindness. So I think with this, so vitamin C is coffee. So when there is vitamin C, it is coffee. It leads to scurvy. I think that's all. So we have vitamins. So that's all. So now what is now? So lack of constipation. Cause of constipation in humans is actually due to lack of roughage. For example, when you don't eat a lot of vegetables or grasses. So when you eat those grasses, they help to break down the food you want to eat. So it helps you to prevent constipation. So in mammals, the organ directly on the top of the kidney. So whenever you see a kidney, right, you will see one thing on the top of that kidney like this. Sorry. So if this is the kidney, though this diagram is not so clear. So if this is the kidney, right, this is a pelvis, right? This is, so you have something on the top of kidney. So that thing we call it adrenal gland. So that's what we call it. So they said which in mammals the organ directly on top of the kidney is the what? Adrenal gland. So an accurate identification of a rapist can be carried out by conducting what? So the answer is not even blood group test is not really reliable. We would have gone for that. Behavioral test is not really. What's even meaning of that? RNA analysis? No. The answer is DNA. That's why you see people. For those of you that watch films very well, they will say they want to go and do DNA. So an example of a fish that estivates is, so give us an example of fish that estivates. So estivation is just like all those things that some organism does. The adaptation adaptation mechanism. So an example of a fish that estivates is it the cracker? Is it the lungfish? Is it the shark? Is it the catfish? So estivation is just like hibernation. That is, these fish they can it is a long, so the answer is lungfish to be precise. That fish they actually use gills as respiration, right? So when there is no water again, this fish can still survive because it's using what? Lung, right? So one fish that estivates is the African lungfish, contrary to estivation which keeps the body cool. So maintenance of high temperature, so it happens in heterotherms. So hibernation is one such state experienced by organisms protecting their body from extreme winter. So the answer is lungfish. Is the one that So because it's a fish that estivates. So estivation is a state of torpor that some fish undergo during dry periods. So that's just it. So what it just do is that it will move to the soil, right? It will be breathing when there is no water again, a lot of water for it to be walking inside. So it will now move inside the soil. The soil, you know that rivers, they actually have some mud, right? It will now move inside that mud without food or water. So they can remain in that state for like 5 years and they will not die. As you can see that they are very 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 strong. You know that snails also do that too. That snails will not see their body again. Some people will say they are fasting. So it's actually estivation. So now the opening and closing of stomata are regulated by, is it respiration, is it osmosis, is it diffusion, is it transpiration? So what regulates the opening and closing of stomata? You know, I told you there's one part of the plant that regulates, that is like part of that plant. So I told you gut cell is that controls the opening and closing of stomata, right? But we are not talking about the process in which the stomach, the process that makes the stomach, that regulates the closing and opening of the stomata. So what's the answer? Is it the respiration? Is it osmosis? Is it diffusion? Is it transpiration? So the answer is what? Osmosis. So it is osmosis that makes it to open the gas cell. That is actually the gas cell that will help, right? So it is osmosis that helps us with it. The following is common to the mosquito, housefly, and barkfly. So which of the following is common? Is it that now there's something I did not teach you. We have something we call metamorphosis. And what are metamorphosis? Metamorphosis is the process in which insects, they grow from the egg stage. They grow from what? The egg stage. They go to the mama. They go to the larva. They go to the pupa, and then they finally become what? Adults. So that is what? Metamorphosis. So it's a particular topic that you must know. And we have two different types of metamorphosis. What? So we have two different types of metamorphosis. And what are those different types? We have the complete metamorphosis, and we have the incomplete metamorphosis. So we have various insects that we are that. So now, what would we mean by metamorphosis? So what do we mean by complete metamorphosis? You know, I told you metamorphosis has to do with the stage in which insects, they move from egg, they go to the larva stage, they go to the pupa, they finally go to the adult stage. Now, inside the in the incomplete metamorphosis, instead of having 4 stages, they will be having what? 30 stages, right? So it means one of these will not be there, right? I think the pupa stage will not be there, right? So, and the another thing about the difference between them is that the incomplete metamorphosis, the in each stages, they are entirely different, right? So in complete metamorphosis, they look alike. The nymph, instead of having larva and pupa, you have nymph, then you have the adults. Now the thing is that the nymph will resemble the adults, and that's what you see in cockroach. So cockroach actually exhibits what? Incomplete metamorphosis. I think you guys are gaining something. So they actually what? They exhibit incomplete metamorphosis. So that's why you see cockroach. If you see some cockroaches, you see them that some of the cockroaches, they resembles the what? They resembles the adult stage, right? But that one is not really happy. It cannot happen in complete metamorphosis because they are entirely what? Not looking alike in what? In complete metamorphosis, right? I think you get what I'm saying. So please, you can try to read more on that aspect. So you can see that question is coming out on that aspect. So try to read it. So you know that I told you 4 stages is involved in complete metamorphosis, while in incomplete, we have 3 stages. So you should know the organism under the complete metamorphosis too. So example of organism we have there is mosquito, butterfly, bees, wasp, and bees too. So not be able to write everything. So incomplete, what do we have? We have the cockroach, right? We have the locusts, right? We have the grasshopper, right? We have the dragonfly, we have the termites, praying mantis, aphids. So those are incomplete. Please note their examples. I think I've mentioned every one of them. So what you have in a incomplete metamorphosis, that you will not have the pupa stage. So I'm sorry that I also said, I think, okay, you will not have the pupa stage, right? So because this pupa stage is the resting stage, so it means in the incomplete metamorphosis there is nothing like resting stage, and also there is no resemblance between the pupa and the adults in the what complete metamorphosis. Why? But inside the nymph and the adult, I told you there will be resemblance. So I think with this I'll be able to teach you that aspect. So let's come back again. So which of the following is common to mosquito, housefly, and barkfly? So don't forget, housefly is actually what? Complete metamorphosis, right? Mosquito is also complete, right? But what of blackfly? Blackfly, is it complete or incomplete? Just look at it. I think I did not even give you an example on that. Is blackfly a complete metamorphosis or incomplete? Because if you look at the options, you by now you should be knowing that you should be knowing that they are trying to test our. That's why you need to know that you need to be grounded in that theoretical thing. So dragonfly is actually complete. Is complete. Sorry, blackfly is a complete metamorphosis. So it means all of them are complete metamorphosis. So they now ask us what is common between the 3 insects that they talk about. So A, they are parasites of man. They are not parasites. Their immature stages are aquatic. No, they undergo complete metamorphosis. Their adults have 2 pairs of wings. So the answer is they undergo complete metamorphosis. So the organs that will be most useful to giant African rats in finding their way in underground habitats are is it the nostrils? Is it the eyes? Is it the vibrissae? Is it the tails? Now imagine, I don't know if you have seen rats before. Rats will be looking at will be using his nose like this. You will be looking at everywhere because of food, right? So, but this question is actually, don't quickly come to conclusion. You need to know what we use vibrissae for before you conclude. Because once you firstly see vibrissae, you firstly think that maybe that would be the answer. Or if you firstly see the nostrils. Nostril is actually different from vibrissae. Nostril is just like nose, right? But the ear in the nose of the rat is now vibrissae, right? So instead of now saying, so this vibrissae, the function of this vibrissae is like it helps you to smell, right? So it's like a sensory organ, right? So it helps you to what? To smell, to detect the environment, to know what is on the presence of the road when it's, and you know that the question says underground habitat. So it means when the rat is moving in underground habitat, this thing will help it to what? To know how to move, right? So that's just what they are saying. I think you guys get what I'm saying. So the organs that will be most useful to giant African rats in finding their way in underground habitat is what? Vibrissae. So now this question is asking us a crucible of, so this is a calculation, a crucible of 5 gram meter weighed 10 gram meter after filling with fresh soil, right? So it is then heated in an oven at 1000 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Celsius. That's what they want to write. They want to write 100 degrees Celsius. So 100. So 100 degrees Celsius. So for 1 hour. So after cooling the desiccator, the weight was 8 grams. They now say we should find the percentage of water in the what? In the soil. Now look at it. What is the weight of that crucible? They said the weight of crucible is we are looking for percentage of water. This is actually on a topic called soil. So the weight of crucible is 5 grams per meter, 5 gram meter, right? They now said after filling with fresh soil, it is then heated in an oven at 100 degrees Celsius. That is, temperature is what? 100 degrees Celsius, right? So we don't really need the temperature. So they now said the weight of that crucible and this fresh soil, that is soil that has water, right? So it means that will be weight of crucible plus the fresh soil. They now say when they weigh it is actually what? 10 gram meter, right? For 1 hour. So okay, they now heated it for 1 hour. So after now weighing it again, it now become, so weight of, so this one is before heating. So of course you know that fresh soil, we have some water inside it, right? So now weight of crucible plus fresh soil, it means after eating that fresh soil, right, those some of the water we get out from that soil, right? So we now have what? 8 gram meter. So it means now, how do we know the weight of water loss? So the weight of water loss will now be the weight of this fresh soil before you heat it minus the weight of the soil after you heat it. So it will now be weight of water loss, which will now be what? 10 minus 8. So that will be 2 gram, right? Now they now ask us to find the percentage of soil, percentage of water in soil. So that will now be water loss. The water loss is 2 gram over weight of fresh soil. Water loss over weight of fresh soil times 100%. Now, what's the water loss? 2 gram What's the weight of fresh? Now look at it. The weight of crucible is 5 gram. But when you remove it from this 10, what will it become? It becomes 5 gram meter, right? So that will be your weight of fresh soil. Then you multiply it by 100%, so your answer 40%. So that will be your answer. So, but what's the meaning of 40%? 40% is the same thing as 40 over 100. So you now get 0.4. So that's how we get the answer. So now the waste products of plants used in the conversion of hides to leather is what? Is it the alkaloid? No, I told you some waste products, that we have some waste products of plant, that we have alkaloids, we have resin, we have the tannin, we have the gum. So which one now is now used for? We now use for in the conversion of hide to leather. Is it the alkaloid? Is it the resin? Is it the tannin? So what's your answer? Just look at the question very well. So the answer is what? Tannin. So tannin is what we use, because tannin is used in the tanning process to make the hide less susceptible to decay and to impart certain qualities to the leather, such as greater resistance to water. So the answer is what? Tanning. So the correct sequence of the movement of urea during formation is, so how does the formation of urea begin? So how does it start? And where does it start from? So that's what the question is asking us. So I taught you how to I taught you all these things in a respiratory system. Sorry, in excretory system. I talked about the Palmer's capsule. And the Palmer's capsule will start at this end. Mm, so something like this. So you go like this. You now go like this again. Come back. Something like that. Do you remember? So I don't remember. So this place now is now where we have the glomerulus, that is collection of capillaries. So this is the glomerulus, right? This is now your Bowman capsule, right? Do you remember what I said? So after the Bowman capsule, you have the convoluted tubule. So this place is now your loop of Henle or Henle's loop, right? All those aspects, we have like blood vessels, something like that. So but here you have your collecting tube. So this is a particular diagram for nephron. So for image formation and urine formation. So the answer is just you start with the glomerulus, it moves to the Bowman capsule, then the convoluted tubule, then the loop of Henle, then the collecting tube. So the answer is option A. So now in lizard, the lowing of the gular fold is used to. So the answer is actually when you see animals behaving somehow. So I did not teach you something that we call courtship behaviors. We have something we call what? Courtship behaviors. We have different types of courtship. We have courtship. People, even human beings, they do courtship now. I'm not saying dating. Courtship is something that is in view of marriage, right? So just like human beings do courtship, animals also do courtship. So these are just part of the courtship behaviors. We have different types of courtship behaviors. Courtship behaviors like seasonal migration, display. As you will see some girls, they will be dancing because they want the boys to come and marry them, things like that. So those are courtship behaviors. So you see some girls using perfume in order to attract the boy to come. You see some boys, they want to be the best in the class, not because they want to really they want to do something good. It's because they want to marry a particular girl. They want to get the person's attention. So that is display. So we have different types of courtship behaviors. So please, you can read that also. Read on that also. So the main aim in which the gular fold is used to the lizard is what is lowering the. Now this courtship behavior, some of the times we have something we call territoriality under courtship behaviors, in which a particular male can take his wife or its wife or his mate and take it somewhere and say this is our territory. So if other animal of that same species want to get access to that territory, he has to fight the person in that territory. So and if the person win, is the owner of the bride, or if he did not win, then the person will retain his territory. So we have something we also call territoriality. We have the pairing, we have the display, we have the other, so things like that. But here, the lowering of gular fold is not to defend their territory. Gular fold is just to attract the mate. For example, now you see some girls, they go and wear tight fitting dress so that they can look sexy, so that males can run after them. You see some boys also, they go and do some haircuts. They want to look very beautiful, so that is display. So the same thing, the way human beings behave like animals some of the time. So we have lizard also behaving that way. So lizard will display itself. So this particular courtship behavior is actually called display. So we have different types of courtship behaviors. We have display, pairing, seasonal migration, things like that. So you can try to read on that aspect, right? So this one is actually to attract mates. So the photosynthetic pigments include what? So what are the photosynthetic pigments? Is it the chloroplast? You know, I told you the pigment in the chloroplast is actually chlorophyll, which is green, right? So is it chloroplast and cytochromes? Is it is it is it the melanin? You know, I told you melanin is actually is what causes lack of melanin is what causes some people to be albino. That's what makes them to be to become an albino, right? So we are talking about photosynthesis. Why is melanin coming out? So it means that can never be the answer. The same thing with hemoglobin. What is hemoglobin doing here? So it can also not be the answer, right? So what do you think will be the answer here? So the answer will be what? Carotenoids and chlorophyll. So that will be your answer. So because chlorophyll has to do with the green pigments in the plants. So the function of carotene is also a crucial ancestry pigment in plants, and it's also in algae. So that helps to capture light energy from the sun and transfer it to the what? Chlorophyll. So it means carotene is also working. Is helping out, is helping chlorophyll out. Right? So it's also a pigment. So the highest level of ecological organization is it the ecosystem? Is it the niche? Is it the biosphere? Is it the population? So what's the highest level? The highest level of ecological organization is it the ecosystem? Is it the biosphere? Is it the niche? Right? Is it the biosphere? Is it the population? So here what's the answer? So the answer is biosphere. So biosphere is the highest level. You know, I told you biosphere is every place organisms live, right? You know, I talk about lithosphere too. So I talk about atmosphere, blah blah blah, everything. So a biotic factor which affects the distribution and abundance of organisms in a terrestrial habitat is A, pH, B, competition, C, temperature, D, light. So what do you think would be the answer? So a biotic factor which affects the distribution of organism in a terrestrial. You know, we are not talking of aquatic habitat here. We are talking of terrestrial, not aquatic habitat. So the major thing that causes the biotic factor, that is living factor. We are not talking of abiotic. Whether we are talking of, if we are talking of abiotic, we'll be talking about light, temperature, and pH. But we are talking of biotic, something that is living factor. Abiotic is non-living factor. So the answer is competition. So because it affects distribution, because when there is the population is so high, there will be competition. Competition for food, competition for mates, competition for a lot of things. Now, the high defect that arises because the cornea is not curved smoothly is what? Is it short-sightedness? Is it short-sightedness? I told you it's also called myopia. When the image is formed at the back of the retina. So and you correct that using what? Concave lens or diverging lens. So I think I've explained that already. And I also told you that long-sightedness is hypermetropia. So the way you will know not long-sightedness is that it is a long, another name is long. It's corrected by convex lens. So which can also be called convergent lens. So presbyopia is actually due to old age, when the ciliary muscle is unable to contract very well again. So there will not be good accommodation again. So, but astigmatism, I said if someone drawn a straight line, the person will not know because the person cannot recognize a straight line. So it's actually because the cornea is not curved enough. It's not curved smoothly. So it's actually astigmatism. And I said you can correct it using, I think, cylindrical lens, if I can still remember. So the solution. So that's just the answer. So let's go to number 29. So which of the following is an example of parasitism? You know, parasite, I told you, it feeds on the host, Abi. So the parasite is an association. Parasitism is an association with the parasite feeds on the host. Something I've taught you most of the time, I will not try to lay emphasis on them again. So, for example, a squirrel living in an abandoned nest of a bed, is that a parasite? Now, mosquito, I told you mosquito is actually what? A plant parasite. I told you we have like two common plant parasites. We have the casita. I said casita is a complete parasite. Mosquito is an incomplete. So the answer here is, without even saying anything, is mosquito. Because I've told you that already. Now they said fungi growing on a dead branch. So this one is actually saprophytism. So that one is not parasitism, because I told you saprophytism is when a fungi is growing on a dead, decaying organic matter. So option D, what's option C saying? The cattle egret taking task from the body of a cattle. So this one is a commensalism. So the cattle egret, it will be eating ticks. Sorry, it's not task, it is ticks. It will be eating ticks from the body of the cattle. So now the increasing order of the particle size in the following soil types is, I told you the particle in clay is very, very small, right? Very, very small. Now we're not talking of the size. The one they say in terms of increasing order, that is which one we have the highest soil particle, that is the soil that will be the largest. So you already know that will be your gravel, right? But I told you clay has the lowest soil particle, so it means we will start this list with what? Clay, right? So you are going to start with what? Clay. So it means option A cannot be the answer. Option C also cannot be the answer, because we must start with clay, because clay has the lowest particles, right? So what do you think will not be the answer? They said the increasing order of the size. Is it that we are going to have sand before the silt? Now what is the meaning of silt? That's what you have to know. So silt is just like a dust, right? So it's actually larger than clay, right? But it is smaller than sand, right? So it means after clay we have silt, then after silt we have the sand, then after sand we have gravel. So that would be our answer, option B. I think you get what I'm saying. So silt is like dust, right? So let's go to number 31. Which of the following factors can bring about competition? So when I told you that when the space is not much, there will be competition. When there is too much population, there will be competition. Now the major thing that normally leads to competition is when there is no food. Now, which of the following things do you think is going to lead to low food? Now look at it. Emigration, that is people living from one place to another, right? Mortality, when people are dying, it means the population will be reducing. Of course, it's good when people no, don't let me say it's good. It's good for the population, right? If people are dying, right? Because as people are dying, the number of food that is available will be enough for the people to eat. I think you get what I'm trying to say. So dispersion also, people are living there. For example, now Lagos, that is millions of people are in Lagos, right? People now leave Lagos, like 10 million people leave Lagos. I think you know what I'm trying to say. So the food now will now be enough for the remaining people in Lagos. So dispersion cannot be the answer. Mortality, of course, the population will decrease. Immigration also, the population will decrease. So the answer is drought, because drought is when there is absence of rainfall. I know that when there is absence of rainfall, right, people will not have what? The food will be limited. The food will be very small, right? Whereby they will lead to what? The little food that people have, they'll be fighting for it. So that one will lead to what? Competition. So that even if they want to eat, they will want to slap themselves that this is my food though. Kinikan. So stunted growth and poor root development are a result of which deficiency? Zinc, phosphorus deficiency. Please also try to read on all those minerals too. They normally ask questions on them too. They will ask what causes a yellow leaf and yellow leaf. Wherever you hear the word yellow leaf, a yellow leaf, they said yellowing of leaf. What causes it? Most of the time it's actually due to the deficiency of iron. So iron is what keeps those leaves to be green. But when there is an absence of it, so it leads to yellowing of the leaf. But when you're talking of started growth now, is it phosphorus? Is it calcium? Is it sulfur? Is it iron? So the answer is what? Phosphorus. So phosphorus is actually responsible for things like that. So it is actually vital for energy transfer within plants. So and the deficiency is going to lead to shortened growth, shortened root system, and it's going to also hinder the it's going to hinder nutrient uptake. So look at this next question now, number 33 and 34. So the cell organelle solely responsible for respiration. Now look at this organelle. They say diagram below to answer question 33 and 34. So the cell organelle solely responsible for respiration is it nucleus? Is it nucleolus? Is it endoplasmic reticulum? Is it mitochondria? So I told you mitochondria when I was teaching you about respiration. I told you mitochondria. What did I say occurred here? Aerobic respiration. And I told you in cytoplasm. What's occurring in cytoplasm? Anaerobic respiration. So of course, the organelle that is responsible for respiration, real respiration, because this type of respiration it produces an ATP of 2 ATP, so that is very small. But it can produce up to 36 ATP, right? So this one is it stores a bulk amount of energy. So the answer is mitochondria. So now the organelle responsible for heredity. So what is that? So heredity, look at the diagram. This is the diagram we are looking at. So I told you inside the nucleus we have what? We have the chromosome. Inside the chromosome, what do we have? We have the DNA. So what they are trying us to say is trying to tell us is that which one among them is the nucleus. That's what they're asking us. So looking at this diagram now, what's your nucleus? Your nucleus is around these chromosomes. So I think it should be these 4. I don't know what because the diagram is not really showing it very well. The diagram is not what really showing it very well. The diagram is somehow blurred. But I think this yeah, so this is like the nucleus core. I'm trying to know what they are trying to say. So there's actually some thread here. There's some thread. So this 3 is pointing out to the thread, right? It's pointing out to the thread, right? So the answer is actually 3 because this 3 is like the thread inside the chromosomes. And so that nucleus of cell it contains DNA, right? Which is the one that is so this thread is the chromosomes. You know, I told you chromosomes is thread-like structure in the nucleus. So it is in that chromosome that we have DNA. So that's where we have the organelle responsible for what? Is the organelle responsible for heredity? So we have the 3. So use the diagram below to answer question 35 and 36. So they said the process illustrated is, so here the word gametangia, right? So option A, gametogenesis. Option B, sexual reproduction in rhizopus. Option C, sexual reproduction in spirogyra. Option D, sporulation. So what do you think will be the answer? Is this gametogenesis? Is this sexual reproduction? And what's the answer? Just try it. So you can see the word gametangia already. So I think that should give you a clue. Though Utme can be tricky some of the time, so you shouldn't go straight to the point, right? So you shouldn't go straight to the point. So, but if you strictly go and take gametogenesis, then you are doing yourself. So you are if there is English for that, you are deceiving yourself, right? So the process illustrated here is actually a sexual reproduction in rhizopus. So that's the answer. So don't be moved by gametogen and you now go and say gametogenesis. So the structure of bed I is what? So this structure. So what's the structure? The structure that is labeled I. Is it dizygospore? Is it the coniophore? Is it the sporangium? Is it the hypha? So what's the answer? Here quickly look at it very well. This structure touching this place. Is it the zygospore? So the answer is just zygospore, yes. That's your answer. So look at this diagram. So you can see that almost most of you know this diagram, and that's paramecium. So you can see the diagram really come out, right? So this is paramecium. You know, paramecium, it actually has what? Slipper shape. So it looks like slippers. I told you, no, this number 3 already. You should know that I told you that this number 3 is the what? Micronucleus. Paramecium has 2 nucleus. This number 2 is the what? Macronucleus or meganucleus. Right? So and so on and so forth like that. So we have different types of them. So now, which organelle is responsible for sexual reproduction? That's what the question is asking us. So which organelle is responsible for sexual reproduction? So that two nucleus, they have the two different functions. That's what you need to know. That those two words, those two nucleus, they have what? Two different functions, right? So you need to know what each one of them is working on. So now the answer is between these 2 and 3, because that's where the micronucleus and the meganucleus is. So you now say which one is involved for what? Which one is involved in sexual reproduction? So just try to think. So don't forget, this is the trichocyst, right? So that's your trichocyst. So this is your food vacuole. So I'm just putting them down. That was the answer. So if you are watching this on YouTube, try to drop the answer in the comment section. Is it the 2 or the 1? So this nucleus inside, this is how the structure looks like. This one outside, this inside, this is the micronucleus. It's actually the one that is deal with what? Sexual reproduction, right? Is the one mainly for the sexual reproduction. Why the micronucleus is just like is the one that control the activities of the cell. I think you get something like that. So that's just the work basically. So the answer is this one. This 3 is the one that works in sexual reproduction. While this meganucleus or micronucleus is the one that controls the activities of the cell. The part labeled 4, I told you it is the what? Is trichocyst. Now, what's the function of this trichocyst? That's what they're asking us. That is, they said the part labeled 4 is responsible for. So what is it responsible for? A. Respiration. B. Injection. B. Locomotion. D. Osmoregulation. So what is the function of the trichocyst? Let me look at the diagram very well. Oh, sorry, this is not the trichocyst. Sorry, I made a mistake. The trichocyst will be around one of these, this cell like this, but this is not trichocyst. It's actually the contractile vacuole. So I'm sorry for that error. It's the contractile vacuole. So what they're now asking us to find now is what's the function of contractile vacuole, and most of you already know it. We have done that over and over again, that the function of contractile vacuole is what? Osmoregulation. So the answer is option D. So look at this question. So they said the part labeled 1 is what? So what is the part labeled 1? So these are hearts. This is a structure of the hearts. So they said the part labeled 1 is what? So what is the part labeled 1? So is it the pulmonary artery? Is it the aorta? Is it the vena cava? So this is actually the aorta. That is the largest artery in the body. Why this is the what? Is the pulmonary trunk, which is also called what? Pulmonary artery. Right? But the thing is touching this thing. So and that's the pulmonary artery, right? So the answer is pulmonary artery. It is pulmonary artery. So now look at this. The oxygenated blood is pumped to the entire body from the what? Now what they're asking us is which one is the left ventricle. Now I told you I did not teach you very well in this aspect. So but let me teach you now. In this place, this is the left side of the heart, right? This is the left side of the heart. This is the right side, right? So this place we have the right, the left ventricle, the left auricle, or atrium, right? Rather, here, this 4, we have the left ventricle. This 3, we have the right ventricle. The right ventricle, it pumps blood towards to the pulmonary artery, so that the pulmonary artery will oxygenate it, right, and bring it to the left atrium, and the left atrium will bring it to the left ventricle, and the left ventricle will what? Will now pump the blood out through the aorta, through all the part of the body. So this number 2 should be right atrium. Now the valve between the right atrium and the right ventricle is tricuspid valve. While the valve between the left atrium and the left ventricle is the what? Bicuspid valve, which is also called what? Mitral valve. So the answer is the oxygen blood which is pumped out of the entire body is what? Is now, it will not be entire this left ventricle, and that's why they normally say, why is it that the wall of left ventricle is very thick? It's because it pumps blood out of pressure. Imagine only a particular place in the heart is the one that is pumping blood to the entire body. So can you see now? So that's why the wall of left ventricle is very, very thick. So the answer is A. Oh, sorry. What they mean is not. It's actually not left ventricle. What they mean is the artery. The artery that pumps blood to the whole body. That's what the question is asking. That's why you need to be very careful when you tell me. So the artery that pumps the entire body, although this is left ventricle that pumps blood to the aorta. Why this aorta is the largest artery in the body? So it is this aorta that pumps blood to the entire body. So our aorta is now the answer. I think that is Roman figure I. So I think I've written something on the. Or where is it? Or is there nothing on it? Oh, the answer is still 4. I thought they actually put Roman figure I on a 1. That's why I said is the answer. So the answer is Roman figure 4 to be precise. Because that's the right, that's the left ventricle, and it's the left ventricle that pumps blood to the entire body. So the left ventricle. But the aorta is the artery that does the work. So number 41. So you can see that we are making use of clinostats. I think I just a little bit, I talk about this experiment a little bit, that when we are making use of clinostats in a particular tropism, geotropism has to do with gravity. Hydrotropism has to do with a response due to water. Phototropism, it has to do with response due to light. So now they ask us now that the experiment demonstrates, is it hydrotropism, is it phototropism, is it stigmotropism, is it hydrotropism? So what do you think will be the answer whenever we use clinostats? So what do we use this for? So you can see that all these things that I've taught you, they are coming out. So if you just like say this one is not important, you're just seeing them. That was the answer. So sorry, one of the options is not there. This hydrotropism that they wrote twice is representing geotropism. And I told you whenever we use clinostats, it has to do with gravity. So and the response that it has to do with the experiment we use this clinostat for is for testing for gravity, and response due to gravity is what geotropism. So that's the answer. So now the part labeled I. So the part labeled I, we are talking of gravity. Why is it that you can see that the roots is moving towards that part? So they now said the part marked I will contain a high concentration of what? Why is it that it moves towards that aspect? So that's what the question is asking us. So why is it that it moves towards that aspect? Is it because of ethylene? Is it because of acetic acid? Is it because of oxine? Is it because of ascorbic acid? Here was the answer. You can see that all these things are very important. So quickly think. You know, I told you that oxine is a growth hormone. So I did not talk much on it, but I talked to you that oxine is a growth hormone, right? It's a growth hormone. That is when you have oxine in a particular place, it's actually what? It's actually aid the increase in growth. But actually in this type of question, what do you think will be the answer? So the answer is oxine. So it's because there's oxine in that place in which that root is growing towards. That's why the root is growing towards this particular direction. Can you see? It's growing towards that place because of what? Increase in oxine concentration, a high concentration of oxine in that place. So that's why we go for oxine. So now look at this question. Now you can see that some toad, they are having what? They are mating. But if you look at what they are doing now, which type of mating is that? The female toad is laying egg, while the male toad is now what? Is now pouring sperm on that egg. So which type of reproduction is that? So which type of breeding posture is illustrated in this diagram? Yeah, that's what the question is asking. If you know the answer, just comment in the video. So the answer is it's not reproductive swimming, because if you look at it, it's almost look like reproductive swimming, but it's not really. The answer is amplesios. What's the meaning of amplesios? So most of you will not see it in your textbook. So amplesio is actually a type of mating behavior exhibited by some externally fertilizing species in which a male grabs a female with his front legs. Can you see that he grabs the female with his front legs? Then uh, then as part of the mating process, then at the same time or with some time delay, he fertilizes the eggs as they are released from the female's body. So that one is like what? External fertilization. So it is fertilizing the egg externally, not internally. I think you get what I'm trying to say. So that's one what is amplesios. So you can see that there's a lot of things. So now this type of diagram is now showing that is it that the animal is viviparous, or the animal is hermaphrodite, or the animal is a hermaphrodite or ovoviviparous. So what do you think is the answer? Is this viviparous? You know, I told you we have. I not teach you this aspect. We have what called the viviparity, right? So you know, one of them they lay egg, and you know, human being now we don't lay egg. So what is this one telling us? So oviparous, it has to do with laying egg, external fertilization. All those chicken now, all those hen, domestic fowl, of course they lay egg. So that is oviparous. So the answer here is what? Oviparous, because this organism is what? Laying egg. So but human being is viviparous because we don't lay egg. We born our young ones alive. Now they now said, oh, I think there is something wrong in this question. This number 45 is not in the. I don't know where they get number 45. Something is wrong somewhere. But they said insulin is produced by the endocrine leaflet, so it's not in the option. There's no diagram for the question, so I can say that's bonus. But let me try to see if I can get the diagram. So let me see if I can get the diagram. Sorry for the delay. So it's actually a diagram of a human being, but they did not draw it. So this is it. Don't mind my diagram, I just quickly want to draw it. So it will just look anyhow, so don't laugh. It's not fine arts. The time of doing fine arts. You need something urgently. So let's say this is the leg. Sorry. Even if this diagram see me, you just be running away. What did I draw? So this is it. Now this is around the neck region. So this is the edge region. So we have different hormones that we produce. So around this region now we produce hormone in the testes, for the testes, right? In this region, which hormone do we produce? I think that's to do with the female reproductive. So we said we have part labeled I, part labeled 2, part labeled 3. Sorry. And this is part labeled 4. You now say which hormone is responsible for is an endocrine, is produced by, okay, insulin is produced by the endocrine, because all of them are all endocrine hormone, right? But this, they now said which one is specific, where is insulin is being produced. Now what do you think would be the answer? So the answer is this 3. This is where the insulin is being produced. right? So that's the answer. So that's figure 3. Because insulin is produced by pancreas, you all know that. So by the vital cells within the pancreas, and pancreas is around this place, right? So it is located behind the stomach, and the stomach is around this place, right? So, and the primary function of pancreas, the insulin, is to lower the blood sugar level. So which of the following will be true of the dog 2 which lost its tails? There's no diagram here too. Okay. There's no diagram here too. Let me try to get the diagram. So I'm trying to get the diagram. Okay. So the diagram is just that we have a particular dog that has a tail, right? Oh my god, how will I draw this thing now? Oh, let's just take it the way it is, Rasha. You can see what I was doing. I'm drawing nonsense, but don't worry. It gets. You can see that the dog has some particular thing. You see a particular dog. So this dog, it doesn't have tail. Right, so look at this head. So let's just assume that's the head. So look at it. So here you can see some pigments. Oh, so this is actually all those genetics, yeah. That's what they want to ask. So this one now, the third dog. Oh my god, what am I drawing? We shall take my diagram the way it is. Take me for where I am. So this is it. We shall draw this one. So please, this is not that the diagram look like. I'm just trying to quickly sketch it. So you can see that the pigment in their body is quite different. Oh god. What am I drawing? Shall I take it like that? Is that dog, Abby? I cannot be drawing. Time is going. Okay, so you can see that this one has the highest pigment. They now ask us that which of the following will be true of dog 2 which lost its tail. We are talking of this is dog 2, right? So they now say which one will be true of dog 2. Will be true of dog 2, right? Which lost its tail in an accident if it's mates with dog 3. So this dog 2 now, it loses its tail, right? So they now say what will be true if this dog 3, if it mates with dog 3. I say this dog 2, if it mates with dog 3, this dog 2 has lost its tails, right? It doesn't have tail again. And they now ask us that what will happen to the organism that they will give back to. So the thing is that, for example, this question is just like saying, if a father, for example, if a person's father is blind, right? If a person that is blind gets married to someone that is not blind, they now ask you that what will happen to all the child that will be born. You now go and say all of them will be blind. You are wrong. None of those child will be blind. That's the main thing. The same thing with this dog now. He doesn't have tail, but when it mates with this offspring, this dog 3, none of them will be born without tails. All of them will be born, and all of them will have what? Tail. So the answer will be none of its offspring will be born without tail. So all of them will have complete tail, because this tail that is removed by accident, it doesn't mean that the dog does not have tail originally. It is because of the accident that the dog has. So it will not affect the genetic composition of the last organism. So that's just the main thing. Now, she now said if the dogs are offspring of a monohybrid cross and the gene G for grey head is dominant. When we are talking of grey head, I think one that does not have. Let me try to shade something. So there are some little shadings here on the edge. Oh, don't mind my diagram. I'm sorry. Pardon me. There's nothing on this one's head, but a little bit is on this one. Right? He now said if the monohybrid, right, for grey head is dominant over the one that is not grey. So they now said the individual whose genotype is likely to be GG is what? So that's what they're asking us. That is the one that is recessive. So what do you think would be the answer? Yeah, what's the answer? They're asking us the one that would be Chichi. They said the G is dominant over the G. So those type of questions, and the diagram that they not even show very well, is going to be a little bit confusing for you, Abby. But this is just it. The one that would be GG is actually 4. Why? Because this 4, if you look at it, the 4 does not have anything on the edge, right? So it means it's the one that is actually almost homozygous recessive. So that's the answer. So this one is, so they said the type of protective adaptation exhibited by the animal. You can see that this is actually rats. So which adaptation? So we have different types of adaptation. We have the counter shading, we have warning coloration, we have this destructive coloration. So try to read on that too. So the question is now saying the type of protective adaptation exhibited by rats. So what does it? What does rats? Sometimes when you are chasing rats in the house, you just notice that you firstly saw rats before, you don't see it again. So they have a particular adaptation they exhibit. And what's that adaptation? So you can see that they are smarter than you some of the time. Oh yeah, what does they use? So the answer is just like what they counter shield, right? So they counter shade. So because most of the African rats, you notice that they are black, right? So when they are black, for you to see their back, they are for you to see their belly is light in color, right? So it's going to, they have black color, but their belly is white. So that is like producing some counter shading. So that's just the answer. The answer is counter shading coloration. So number 49, the structure labeled I is what? You can see that it's actually this. I told you the meaning of that. That's one they talk about now. I think I talk about it here. You can see they actually ask a lot of diagram in this year. The people that do that question that year, I don't prepare for diagram. So you see this briefly say now, the air in the mouth of rats. So now what does it do? It's actually for chemoreceptive. It's actually for chemicals to detect to detect like signals. You know, I told you that signal, that's a freebie say. I told you freebie say is for it to know the movements. It's like a radio sensitive. It makes it to be sensitive to the surroundings, right? Why the nose strips, which is the nose, it will be for chemoreceptives, chemosensitive, because it's using that one to what? To know the chemicals around. So that's just the answer. let me look for the next question. So we have one last question. Oh my god, what's the last question? I think that's all, by the way. I couldn't see the last question. Okay. So what is it? Okay, I've done this one. So as I said, freebie is this here at the mouth. So freebie I told you they are also called so it's actually called the whiskers. So they are specialized ear found on the faces of many mammals, including rats. So they are highly sensitive to touch, and they play a crucial role in spatial awareness, navigation. They use those things to, rats. Some of the times you're just wondering how those rats they move in the house without lights. Some of the time when there's no light, you wonder how did they move. The reason is because they have this freebie. So this freebie will help them to navigate. It's in their nose. That here in their nose is freebie. So it helps them to gather information about uh, the the environment. So please, that's why I'm quite so sorry. The answer is not chemoreceptive, it's not photoreceptive. In fact, it's not even radioreceptive sensitive. The answer is tactile. That is, it's like tactics. So it's like tactics, but it helps them to navigate around the house. So that's the answer. So thank you for watching today's video. I don't see the 50 questions. The last question there. I couldn't find the last question there. So that's for tonight's class. Bye. So if you are watching this on my YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe and make sure you comment and so that I can know you watch the video. Bye.